What's going on YouTube? It's Benny coming back at you again with one vape at a time. Today we're going to go over something a little bit different. Those of you that may not know, I don't make my living doing YouTube videos. Big surprise with all 40 subscribers, right? I work in a commercial pizza kitchen, which I am fortunate enough to be allowed to vape there. My bosses are vapors, so that's pretty awesome, but sometimes carrying around a, regular mod or whatever with you, having it in your pocket's not the greatest thing. So I've done some relatively extensive testing on all these pod systems that are out there. I'm going to give you a little bit of info on them and which ones are my personal favorites. They may not be the best, but they're what I've played with and what I like. So we're just going to dive right into it. Of course, you've got some of your closed pod systems. I've got the Bow. I picked this up. It's not bad. It's handy. Form factor's good. That wasn't a very big drag. It's been sitting. It's good, but you don't get any flavor off of it, in my opinion. I'm a flavor vapor. I could really give a shit less about nicotine or clouds, to be completely honest. They've got these little guys from Komge, the K1. This guy's kind of handy. It's disposable. You get, I don't know how many puffs they're saying out of it, but whenever it's done, you throw it away. So that's not the greatest for the environment. I like something that I can refill. So we are going to start it off over here with this little guy here, the Smok Rolo Badge. Pretty cool, feels good in the hand. It does have a 250 milliamp hour battery and a 2 milliliter pod. One thing I like about what they did with this, you're not going to be able to see it on my, well, maybe you can. It actually has two of the little fill ports, which allows some air to escape when you're filling it up, because some of these can be a mess to fill up. 2 milliliter pod. The kit does come with two of the pods, which is good. Some of these don't, which is kind of a big drawback in my opinion. It's a 1.2 ohm coil in there. It's going to fire at 10 to 16 watts depending on how much charge your battery has on it. There's good and bad things about it. You do have a little indicator light here at the bottom whenever it is charging or you're vaping on it. The form factor, it feels good in the hand. It's real good for a stealth vape, but it's not one that you can necessarily hold in your mouth and vape on. It's a little bit heavier. It is well made, so that's a definite plus. This one right here, it's definitely going to make my top 5. I didn't bother going through and really setting them up in any kind of order. You're just going to get them as I grab them and as I've got the info written down in front of me. So the Smok Rolo Badge, it's pretty good. Little smaller battery size, 250 milliamp hours. Pretty well standard 2 milliliter pod on all of them. Not a lot of vapor, but pretty decent flavor coming out of that one. I've got that one filled up with some of this Cloud Nerds Nick salt. I've been using the same couple salts in most of them just so that, for comparison's sake, so that I can tell you how good the flavor is. That one, I'd say, as far as pod systems go, it's probably around a 6 for flavor. Only 2 of these are going to make very high on the flavor scale, in my opinion. Next one we're going to go to is this guy right here. This reminds me a lot of what I started out vaping, those old Ego pin sets. But this one here is the Vaporesso Orca Solo. Just got this one in. It is kind of cool. They call this purple, but it is definitely blue. I'm sort of colorblind and I can tell that it's blue. This guy here, it's sort of cool. It's got a little bigger battery, 800 milliamp hour battery, which is nice. It holds the charge a little bit longer. A 1.5 milliliter pod. I don't know if you'd necessarily call it a pod. This one comes with a couple different coils included. You've got an organic cotton coil and a CCell coil. This one, not the greatest fill system in my opinion. You got to take this whole top off. You've got your little coils in there. Your glass comes off, screw that out. So it's a little bit of a to-do to refill it, but it's sturdy. You got that nice cage on the glass, which is a definite plus. If you drop it, you're probably not going to break it. I'm not going to guarantee you that. But it comes with an organic cotton coil, and a CCell coil, which is the ceramic. Those both come in at around a 1.3 ohm coil, and you are going to get 7 to 12 watts depending on, obviously, how much power your battery's got left in it. A little more vape off of this one. I don't know if you're going to be able to make it out on the camera here. Yeah, there you go. It does have, if you look right here, it's got an adjustable airflow. You can close it down and open it up. So that's kind of a nice feature. It's a little more airy, but then you can close it pretty much all the way down and get a real good mouth to lung draw on it. So that's a definite plus. Again, a little bigger battery on that one. So that's good depending on what you're doing. If you need a little more battery life during the day. This particular one, it's pretty well in line with the majority. I might say flavor for a pod system on this one is going to be around a 5 to a 6. The form factor is nice. This is one of the two that I'm messing with today that doesn't have the auto draw feature. It does have, I don't know, you can see it lighting up there. It does have a fire button, which some people may like, some people may not. It's a little bit longer, so it's a little harder between the size and that fire button. A little bit harder for a stealth vape, but all in all, still good. I've always been a pretty big Vaporesso fan. These next two guys, you're seeing them everywhere. I'm sure you're going to be familiar with them. We're going to start out with the Kado Stealth. Picked this guy up, and for a little while there, this was definitely making the #1 on my list. My real issue with it is I haven't used it in a few days. And it sort of seems like if you don't use it, that coil gets oversaturated and you really got to sort of do a lot of primer puffs and get it going. I also think my battery might be dead on this one. Should have checked that before the video, huh? But it's cool. It's got good form factor. It's sort of rubberized here on the front and back. Feels good in the hand. Again, a good size for a little stealth vape. That one there has a 450 milliamp hour battery on it. Just about all these have these pods that come out. You know, you got your fill port on the bottom, right up here towards the top. Got your magnet and your connections there. So this one's pretty good. 2 milliliter pod, 1.5 ohm coil that is supposed to give you a constant output of 8 watts, but I don't see how that works unless it, you know, as your battery goes down, unless it does a lower voltage the whole time. That's not really going to work. This one, I will say, like, it was one of my favorites, as I mentioned. This one, the flavor is definitely better than some of the others. That one I've got filled up with this salt lemon cake. I think I showed this in my Voopoo Panda video. By far my favorite salt right now. Flavor on that one's pretty good. I'm definitely going to have to give that one a 7 or an 8. I'd say it's definitely going to make my top 3 out of all these pod systems. We'll do a real brief rundown of maybe a quick rating system when I get done. Flavor on that one's good. I'm looking for flavor with these. I want something small, like I said, that's good for work, and something that is going to give me some flavor. Next on the list, another one we've been seeing everywhere. It's the bean. It's not the bean. This is the Komge Cashew. See that right there? We got our branding all over it, which I'm not sure how crazy I am about that. But this guy right here, it has a 380 milliamp hour battery, so another one that's a little bit on the small side, but I've never had any issue with it running dead on me because I usually carry 2, 3, sometimes 4 or 5 of these things to work with me, depending on how long of the day I'm looking at. 2 milliliter pod, you know, pops right out of it. This one's a little stubborn. I don't know. I'm not going to grab something to pry it out with. One thing I do really like about this, I don't know how well it's going to show on the video, but if you look here, it's sort of contoured right here where you draw on it, which is nice. It fits your mouth real well. Nice vape on this one. You have 2 mil pod with a 1.3 ohm coil installed, coming in at 8 to 13 watts. Another pretty good one. Another one that's sort of standard with the Rolo. You know, these two are very similar vapes that you get out of them, in my opinion. Your flavor, again, a 5, 6, you know. Not great, not bad. The other ones, you know, anybody who watched my video the other day saw this guy. This is the Voopoo Panda. It's pretty cool. It's another one that does have the fire button here on the top. It's definitely, it's a little, I was going to say it's a little bigger device, but I guess it's just about exactly the same size as the Komge. And look at that, the curves on them fit together nice, don't they? The Panda has an 1100 milliamp hour battery, so that's great. That's going to rival some of your built-in battery mods that you see these days. It also comes with the 5 milliliter pod. So if you're looking for one device pod style to get you through the entire day, this guy right here is probably the one to go with. And it also is nice because it comes with 2 of these pods. You get a 0.8 ohm pod that is a little more airy, going to be a little bit more of a restricted lung hit, firing at about 12 watts, so that's good. The one that I have installed in here is a 1.2 ohm pod. They say that one fires at about 8 watts. It's a little tighter draw, more of a mouth to lung. I'm really digging this guy. Actually, this one is the wife's. We've got another one on the way because I'm kind of liking it, but I don't want to tear hers up. Feels good in the hand, you know. It's got the fire button, but with the shape of it, it's pretty good for your stealth vape, you know. I had it at the grocery store puffing on it the other day a little bit, you know. You never know when you may need a draw on a vape. And 2 kids in a grocery store will definitely make you want a vape. So that one is pretty good. And we're going to, in my opinion, I have saved the best for last. This guy right here is the Joyetech Teros. Pretty cool little system. Anybody that follows me on Instagram, you see it's nice and cool right now, so we got this pretty pearlescent pink. As it gets warm, it's going to turn bright yellow, which doesn't really add anything to your vape, but it's just kind of neat, right? Excuse me. 400 milliamp hour battery, 2 milliliter pod with a 0.5 ohm coil in it. One thing I like about this is you're going to get a 1.8 volt constant discharge for the entire life of your battery, so you're not going to know it's going dead until it's dead. But this one right here has been my daily carry no matter where I go. The flavor on it is amazing. Not a whole lot of vapor, but I just put a new pod in there. It's still kind of wicking up. Flavor's amazing. Out of everything that I've tried, I would definitely give this one a 9/10. The only thing that's even close on flavor is the Panda. So that's all of them that I've gone through. You know, I've got some of the other ones. I've got a Me Pod laying here, which was one of the first ones I got that actually I need to get a hold of because this guy, it's auto firing right there. See that? It just continues to fire itself until you pull the pod out. And then it shuts itself down. So I'm not real happy about that one. Need to get a hold of them on it. So, you know, let's see. One thing I will say, the Kado Stealth and the Cashew both give a pretty decent vape, you know, decent flavor on them. These guys come with the one pod that you install, no extras, and I've had some difficulty looking around and finding pods for some of them at a reasonable price. The Orca is good other than the form factor. I say I like the Rolo Badge. It did come with a second pod. The form factor, it's a little bit heavier for as small as it is. I mean, it'll fit right there in the palm of your hand, but it's got some weight to it. Maybe good, maybe bad, depending on what you're looking for exactly. I will definitely say I really like the Panda. I like the versatility that this guy offers, whether you want to go restricted lung hit or mouth to lung. Either way, both pods give you great flavor. But this guy right here is definitely my favorite so far. You know, this, as I say, it's the one I've carried all day, every day. I'm loving it. I'm definitely going to have to order some more pods because I just put the second one in that came with it, so I don't have any spares laying around. I was waiting on the Ringco Ceto pod. I've heard great things about it. I've got one on the way, but it's gotten held up somewhere, and I didn't want to wait on this video any longer. So right now, this is the #1 pod system in my opinion. That may change in the near future. I want to address, you know, this is a channel for vapors in recovery, so I want to address an issue. You know, whether you're in recovery or you got a family member in recovery, you know, this may apply to you. I recently found out that somebody I care about is apparently in rehab. and it's about the 4th or 5th time they've gone. So, and I found myself kind of being a little bit negative, maybe cynical. I figure, well, they've done it, you know, going on a half dozen times. I'll believe it when I see it, you know, which I understand not forgiving somebody right away. You know, we've all done a lot of bad in our past, or maybe you've had a lot of wrong done to you. You know, try not to. My big thing is you got to protect yourself, but also don't let somebody else drag you down. You know, don't let those negative thoughts creep in and take over. You just got to do you. So that's a big thing. When you're getting sober, you've got to take care of yourself. If you got a family member in there, be there to support them, but protect yourself while you're at it. You know, that's just kind of my thoughts for the day. I try to have a little bit of reflection every day, whether I'm on here or not. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that for the day. All these pod systems are pretty good. I don't have any that I would necessarily say not to go out and get if you're looking for a pod system. They're all good, whether you're looking for battery life, flavor, form factor. You know, there's reviews out on all of these. These are just kind of my opinions because I feel like I've done fairly extensive testing. One thing I will say, this guy right here, the Bow, it's not a bad vape, but it's covered in juice right now. I don't have anything to wipe it off. You gotta be careful with them nic salts, they're pretty strong. It doesn't give you much flavor. Pods are kind of expensive, so take that into account. But again, it doesn't really matter what you're vaping on. Pods, you know, pre-filled pods, refillable, whatever. Squonk can do what you do as long as you're not smoking. Stay positive, take care of yourself, and whatever you do, take it one vape at a time, guys. Thanks.